Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and I'm drinking my morning coffee not in my robe because it's just too hot today to be sitting around in a big thick robe. So let's get right into this talk. And sorry if I'm a little slow because this is literally my first cup and it's still full to the top. I've had 2 sips. Now, one of the things that I've noticed over the years, this is something that people even in the fitness community struggle with, but mainly in the mainstream community, they really struggle with this. And I even see a lot of questions on this of why is it so hard to get good nutrition information? I don't just mean from body composition because that is really, really easy. In terms of knowledge, it's very simplistic. But in terms of just overall health, longevity, disease prevention, why is there so many conflicts? And the reality is there aren't that big of conflicts. This stuff is well understood in the mainstream dietitian world, the mainstream medical world. The people who actually work with patients, medical doctors who actually do look at nutrition, who do their best to look at the research, who see regular blood work day after day after day, who have to perform procedures on people, they keep track of what people eat, and they know which foods and lack of which foods are going to contribute most to cardiovascular disease, to diabetes, to cancers, to osteoporosis, to everything else. These doctors, some of them are not stupid. About half of doctors are probably clueless about nutrition, but a lot actually are up to speed. And it becomes really a problem because we have so many doctors and special interests who have their own agendas, often financially motivated. Oftentimes they write books, diet books and things that are full of information that contradicts what is understood and well supported. And the bodybuilding world is no better. There are plenty of people who really and truly are involved in the bodybuilding world. They read some peer reviews, they read some stuff from doctors, and they think that they're actually well queued up on nutrition, and they really aren't. And again, it's not just these doctors doing it. It has to do with what government agencies can even say. The FDA and anyone associated with the FDA and their dietitians and researchers, there are things they would love to say, but they will get themselves into trouble. They cannot put out certain official statements. They cannot tell you to not eat certain foods. They would love to. Their stance is very clear when you see what they put, and they have to code word stuff in a way that doesn't tell people to eat less of certain foods. If they tell you to eat more of one thing or several things, they actually mean they want you to eat less of the others. But things like the agricultural agencies, the lobbyists for various agricultural subsections put massive financial and political pressure upon organizations, even like the FDA, when they make statements. And if they tell you not to eat something, it is a major economic issue. So they can't tell you not to eat red meat or not to drink soda. They can't tell you to do those things, even though they might like to. So in spite of all of this conflicting information, what is really the mainstream approach, and what most doctors who really do study this stuff, who do deal with patients in the real world, who see what changes in their diet reverse diseases or make the diseases worse or cause them to have more surgeries, medications, because even Big Pharma has an interest in some of these things not even being resolved. It's a financial issue for them if the entire world gets off of diabetic meds and statins. Right? They lose a lot of money. They don't want that to happen. So what is it that most of these doctors will tell you? What are the things that you need less of and you need more of? Well, right off the top, we know that you need to be eating less heavy metals, trans fats. That's universally agreed. Even the quack doctors agree with that. That's agreed. You need to be avoiding eating things like mercury and trans fats. Those things need to be brought to the bare minimum in your diet, preferably 0. Now the other things, and this is going to upset people, but I don't care. This is what most really good registered dietitians will tell you. This is what a lot of medical doctors who really take an interest in their patients' diets and they see what it does to blood work and things will tell you. What foods do you need to minimize? And I'm not even telling you to avoid them. I'm not telling people to go on a vegan diet here. I'm telling you that these experts will tell you these things need to be eaten in moderation. And I don't care if you found 3 studies contradicting that. It doesn't discount the overwhelming volume of information and data that's been gathered over the decades. And these things are agreed upon in the mainstream. High on those lists are going to be things that you need to moderate in your diet. Eat at very small amounts. Are going to be animal products in general, but in particularly animal products high in saturated fat. That isn't actually debated. It's just that they can't come out and tell you that, particularly in the US, even though the FDA would love to. So reduced overall animal products, but mainly a focus on reducing saturated fat. Number 2, refined fructose. I'm not saying sugar. I hate that word used here because, quite frankly, most sugars found in nature aren't always a problem as long as they're not taken to extreme excess. But if you're an athlete, you can probably take those to extreme excess without suffering the negative effects. It's the other thing to remember here. A lot of athletic people can bypass the negative health effects of some aspects of poor diets far, far, far easier and to a greater extreme than the mainstream population. You being athletic offsets these risks dramatically. But refined fructose, and what do I mean by that? Well, I mean specifically things like high fructose corn syrup. I mean things like sucrose, which is table sugar or cane sugar, and anyone who thinks that there's a substantial difference between the two, there isn't. One of them has slightly more fructose than the other, and as far as the bond difference between them, it disappears when they hit your stomach. So they're equivalent of each other. There's not really a difference. And then potentially honey, because honey is really the same thing too, with just an extra antioxidants, vitamins, and minerals. These things should be eaten in moderation. And cooking oils, vegetable oils, particularly ones that you heat up, but a lot of any refined oil, you probably shouldn't be eating that at all, to be honest. But they need to be eaten in moderation, and you certainly shouldn't be cooking with oils. And that's not me saying that. That's what most registered dietitians will tell you who really are up to speed on the data. Those are the things that contribute most, not necessarily just to obesity. Obesity is just one facet of it, but to a whole myriad of health issues and lifestyle-induced health issues. Now, as far as things that people need to be eating more of, more vegetables, more fruits. So in general, you need to be eating less refined foods, particularly highly refined foods. Less animal products, particularly animal products high in saturated fat. Less processed fructose. Cooking with oils and refined oils in general, and eat more vegetables and fruits. It's pretty straightforward, pretty clear. And I'm not even talking about just body composition. This is no point in even covering body composition. That would be a 60-second video. So there you have it, guys. That's the reasons why it's difficult to get good nutrition information. And those things are actually what most of the mainstream registered dietitian and medical world who do research nutrition and the nutrition of their patients, those are the things they'll tell you. That's what the FDA actually wants to say, and their policies reflect that, but they're not allowed to say it due to massive financial and political influence. Alright guys, so that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it has been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.